Welcome in. It is Brad with College SportsCast. It is March Madness, and we are here for the Big Blue HoopsCast episode 16. Welcome in. It is Brad with College SportsCast. Got John Hammonds here with me tonight. What's up, Hammonds?
What's up, man?
He's excited. All right. If you're with us on Facebook, we appreciate you. You can help support us by sending stars, or you can subscribe to our page. It's only 99 cents a month. It does give you your own chat and your own subscribers page. And again, it's only 99 cents a month, and it does help support us to continue to make these for you guys. It's March, John.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
Kentucky's got some wins.
Our girls did not get to the Sweet 16, but our boys did. But still an overall great season from the girls. I thought they played their hearts out. Just a tough loss yesterday against Kansas State, against a really good Kansas State team. You know, they had some really good shooters. The big girl in the middle, Aoki Lee, Poindexter. We'll get into that, but just a tough end of the year for the girls. On that note yesterday.
It was, man. I was there. I will start, since you're going to get into it real quick. I mean, I'll start by saying the atmosphere yesterday was fantastic. It was so intense down the stretch. I don't know if you could tell it on the TV or not, but man, being there was something pretty special, to be honest.
Yeah, I watched it. It was a fun game. There was a lot of high-level shot making in this game. Tamira Poindexter shot the lights out for Kansas State. She was 8 of 15 from three-point range.
She absolutely did.
She traded baskets with Georgia Amoore late in the game. Now, Georgia Amoore missed the shot that would have won the game for Kentucky, which was unfortunate. But overall, I felt like the girls had a really good year. They did things that nobody thought they would do. You know, Kenny Brooks came in with basically no roster, and he built a roster together, and he brought a team together, and they did some unbelievable special things, and I'm so proud of these girls.
Well, before we just go diving into yesterday's game, it started out with a win over Liberty. Whoops, got the wrong score up. It started out with a win over Liberty in the first round. This was at Memorial Coliseum, both games. I was there as media to cover both games. John, in this game, the girls almost gave this game away. They had a 17-point lead early in the fourth quarter with about 9 minutes and something left to go.
That's been the case all year long with these girls. You know, they've had leads. You know, they get to the end of the third quarter, and it just seemed like when the third quarter comes, it's just like the lights go out in the fourth. I don't know if
I told you on the way back, I mean, from this game, they just, for whatever reason, and they couldn't get it out of their system, they played tight in the fourth quarter in a lot of these games. It wasn't just this Liberty game.
No,
it happened in the LSU game. It happened in the Ole Miss game. It happened in the Missouri game. It happened in – I mean, you can go on and on and on. The last 10 games of this season, Ole Miss, Texas, even. You could go on and
A&M
on.
was another one. A&M was another one where they had the lead and they let the lead slip away in the fourth quarter. I mean, just they couldn't put teams away. And I'm not saying that's what happened yesterday with Kansas State. Kansas State was a completely
Now, this
different
Liberty
game.
team was a good team. I'm going to give them a little bit of credit. They had two post girls that were tremendous post players. One was a senior and one was a freshman. The freshman had 20 points in the post in this game. Um, and the
What's going on?
all right. Can you
Yeah.
hear me? Did you hear what
Yeah. You kind
I
of broke
said?
up a little bit. You kind of broke up a little bit.
Seemed like it was going out for a second.
It did for a minute.
All
I
right.
was
I'm not
wondering
sure
because you were just sitting
if
there and
you
I didn't
are
know what was
listening.
going on.
Yeah. But they had two post players. He did.
You're breaking up pretty bad, bro.
The freshman had 20 and the senior had like 16. And they had two post players that were really. We haven't done a show for a little while. I can tell. I'm not. Okay.
Are you there, bro?
I'm trying to be. I don't know. It keeps going in and out. I haven't done a show for a little while, and I can kind of tell. You got me?
Yeah, you're there.
All right. I don't know if I should say that again, but I talked about Liberty's post players. They have a really good team. They made a run down the stretch here in this game and nearly pulled off. I mean, they threw one in at the end to make it a 1-point game, banked in to make it a 1-point game. Looks a lot closer, really, than this game was. But they didn't play well down the stretch in this game.
They didn't. They let a lead slip away. They had a 17-point lead. Just a lot of mistakes, a lot of things happened down the stretch. It was that way all year long. I thought in certain games, like you said, the Missouri game, the Texas A&M game, the Missouri game. There was just a lot of games where they just struggled, and there was games where they just didn't play good. And that needs to be a focus point, I think, next year to get that kind of situation resolved, because you don't want that to kind of creep into what they did yesterday and going forward in the tournament and such.
Yeah, in this Liberty game, Georgia Amoore set a single season school NCAA scoring record. She tied it. Let me say that again. She tied it. She didn't set it. 34 points. She tied Adia Mathis scoring record, 34 points in this game against Liberty. She was on fire in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Say, Jerry. We do not.
No, I don't. I do not pin messages. I'm not even on there. So no, I'm not on YouTube. I'm doing this through something else. So yeah. All right. So Georgia Amoore again tied the school record, 34 points in this game. She's been special this year. I mean, just absolutely special. She also tied the scoring record with 43 points in the Oklahoma game. Most points in a game. She set the assist single season record with 213 yesterday versus Kansas State. She's a second team All American. It was named this week. I mean, Georgia's been special.
She has. Unbelievable season from Georgia. She's done some incredible things. Tough to lose a game on a last-second shot like she did yesterday. That's got to be tough, being your last game and you miss the last shot and you go out like that. But she's had an unbelievable season. So many records she's had. I know that they put a lot of her accolades up there. I think it was a March Madness post or a Kentucky post, and they did some amazing things. So, great job, Georgia. She had a good year.
She did. Absolutely.
Will you keep
100%
looking
she
at?
did. I'm looking at, I'm reading comments. All right. So then yesterday, this game was an overtime game, John. Kentucky had a 5-point lead with about a minute and 40 seconds left. They called a timeout, and they had two girls. Well, one girl that was just shooting lights out. Her name was
Yeah,
Poindexter.
Sundell and Lee.
She started Poindexter started 0 for 5 in this game from the 3-point line. At the
And
end
she
of the
finished
game, she was 8.
a 15.
Hang on. At the end of the game, she was 8 of 15. That means after the first quarter or so of this game, she was 8 of 10 from the 3-point line.
Yeah, and she finished with 24 points to send Kansas State to the Sweet 16. This is a really good Kansas State team. You know, Sundell, Lee, Poindexter. You got the Glenn girl that was really, really good. They just did a lot of things that disrupted what Kentucky wanted to do. You know, they hit shots when they needed to.
I mean,
Kentucky
it was
had a
haymaker after haymaker. I mean, Kentucky was scoring. There was no lull in this game. Kentucky was scoring and getting back on top. They would come down, and they had the big girl Lee in the middle, and they were fronting her. And if they ever got it over her and she had enough room, she was laying it in. She was tough to defend. And, you know, Tiani Key played well. Clara Strack played well. Georgia Amoore had 18 points in this game. I mean, it was just this Kansas State team was, I mean, honestly, they were a top 10 team, and their center Lee got hurt and missed about 5 weeks of the season. She just came back for the NCAA tournament. And I'm going to be honest with you, John. With Lee, Kansas State is probably a top 10 team.
She is. This is a good Kansas State team. Kentucky just couldn't make the shots that they needed. You know, they had the 4-point lead in regulation with 50 seconds to go. They couldn't put them away. They let them hang around. And you can't do that in the tournament, man. You just simply cannot let a team hang around in this tournament. When you do, you find out what happened yesterday. We've seen it with the men. You let a lead lay around like that, and it just, you fall apart. And that's basically what happened down the stretch with the girls, which they hit big shots. Kansas State hit big shots, but they just made more shots than us. And unfortunately, we didn't get to the Sweet 16.
And, they fought so hard. Even in the last possession of the game, they got 2 offensive rebounds. Georgia had a 3. They got an offensive rebound. Amelia Hassett got a 3. The ball went out of bounds. There was like 3.2 seconds, 3.8 seconds. They got the ball back into Georgia for a little floater. There was about an 8-foot floater, and it bounced around the rim and fell off. And they lost by 1.
Just happens. It's one of those deals.
It was a fantastic game. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it was great to be there, and to be, the atmosphere was fantastic. Big Blue Nation showed up, showed out, and it was just really fun to be there in the NCAA tournament for a game like this. And John, you were watching on TV. What's your final takes of this game, of just this game?
Unbelievable season by the girls. I felt like there was some missed chances that they had. They missed some shots. Kansas State hit some shots when we was up 2-3, which we could have pushed the lead back out. There was just certain times where it just screwed up everything. And, sometimes that just happens in tournament games. You go through little moments where you just don't hit. And yesterday was one of those times. Now, we hit shots for them, haymaker for haymaker, but when we need to put a game away, we just never could seem to get that one moment to put it away. And unfortunately, we didn't make the Sweet 16. It was one of those things where I wanted to go as for the girls. The men did, but as a fan and a stewardess of the game that you like the girls, it's tough for you because you cover it and you wanted to see them go. And it's one of those things. It's tough when you lose in the tournament.
Man, losing like that is really tough. When you are making shots and have leads, and I want to say one thing for sure. So I saw some stuff after I got back home last night where some fans are wondering why Tayani Key was leaving a shooter, and that was part of the defense. I got to let you guys know. So they were fronting the Lee girl, who's 6'6", big, physical, and Clara Strack was fronting her. And whenever they were trying to throw it over the top, Tayani Key, who was also guarding one of their shooters, if she was on the wing or in the corner, she was cheating the baseline as the backup if they threw it over the top, so she could come in and be the defender when she caught it over the top of Clara Strack. So it was kind of like a double team, and it worked beautifully most of the time. But in the end there, or towards the end, the girl just hit. When you're shooting 8 of 10 from the 3-point line, You're on fire. And she hit 2 or 3 highly contested three-pointers with a hand in her face. And sometimes you just have to give it to them and say, man.
Yeah, and two,
game,
we was up 2, up 3 there at one point, and they hit a shot to tie it. It just seemed like every time that we tried to kind of separate, they would always make a big shot. And that's what happens in the tournament. You're going to have to answer. And unfortunately, we did not answer back in overtime. We had the opportunity to win for the last shot, and it just did not go for Georgia Amoore. And it's just sometimes that's just the way the ball bounces.
Yeah, man. Shane Poindexter was lighting up the net. She was 8 of 10 in the last 3 quarters from the 3-point line and overtime. This game did go into overtime. And Georgia's little runner, man. I mean, she had an 8-foot runner, and I mean, it dribbled, bounced all over the rim, fell off on the other side. Buzzer sounded, and we lost by 1. I mean, it's heartbreaking, to be quite honest with you. I told John on the way back home last night, I mean, I've covered them for 2 years. I've covered them all over the place, been to Nashville and Birmingham and Greenville, South Carolina, and tons of home games, NCAA tournament games. I'm fully invested with this girls' team, and that one hurt. I'm not going to lie. That one hurt. Like, I left the arena last night, and I was in Lexington. I went over to watch the men's. And I will be honest with you guys. The first 10 minutes of the men's game, it was tough, man. It was tough to even – it took me about 10 minutes in that game to even – I'm talking about clock on the clock. It was about 10 minutes in the half before I could really get into that game. It was tough.
Yeah.
All right, John. Draft prospects. Shane brings up asking about Georgia's draft prospects.
I think she's at least top 15.
She's going to be a first rounder. There is 12. There might be 13 because they're adding a team. There might be 13 or 14 picks. There's been 12 picks in the first round. She's going to be a first rounder. There's no way she's not going to be a first rounder. I don't think she's going to be top 3. And the reason why is her height. She's only 5'6". That is a little bit of a knock against her. But the way she plays, she definitely is going to be a first-round draft pick in the WNBA draft this time. It's going to be fun to see where she goes. Indiana Fever select 12th. Wouldn't it be kind of like, could you imagine a team if you had her and Caitlin Clark on the same team?
It'd be pretty awesome. Yeah.
And Shane, I agree with you. 9 times out of 10, that little floater is going in. But it just it just fell off the rim. I mean, scooted along the rim a couple of times and fell off the other side. So let's get to Kenny Brooks. First season at Kentucky. I know for myself, of course, like I said, I mean, I know these people and everything for myself. I'm super proud of the job that Kenny has done in year 1. They had an 11-game improvement from 12 wins last year to 23 this year. They climbed all the way up to number 8 in the polls. They were a top 16 seed.
Yep.
They were a top 4 seed, double bye in the SEC tournament. They placed number 4 in the SEC. And Kenny's got a really good team coming back.
He does. I mean, Clara Strack returns. They're probably going to get Key's probably coming back. There's a lot of girls on this team that, have an opportunity to do some of the things they did this year. But me and you was talking yesterday. I think he's got to get to the Sweet 16 next year. I'm not saying that's going to not cause him to keep his job, but he needs to get these girls to the Sweet 16 to kind of
fan-wise. I think the fans are going to want him to get to the Sweet 16
to feel the pulse of the fan base. Yes, that's where I got with this, because the girls haven't been there probably since. Well, I'm thinking, was it 3 or 4 years ago? Matthew Mitchell, maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
No, it's been a while. The girls have not been to the Sweet 16 since 2016.
2016, that's right. Wasn't that with Ryan
They've
Howard?
Not been since 2016.
I think that was with Ryan. That was with Howard.
No. That was before Ryan Howard.
That was before
Ryan Howard was 22.
Yeah, Howard was after that. Yeah. I think they need to get to Sweet 16, especially for the fans, the alumni. Getting back to that Sweet 16 is a big deal, because it basically shows.
It is. Matthew Mitchell had the best run here at Kentucky from 2010 to 2016 over a 7-year period. He did it 5 times. That's the most. Matter of fact, Kentucky women's has only been to the Sweet 16 6 times ever. And Matthew Mitchell done it 5 of those.
He did.
From 2010 to 2016.
He had a great resume for the girls for basketball.
He's by far the best coach that Kentucky women's has ever had. I mean, it's not even close, if you ask me. You go by and look what he did in March and stuff. He made the Elite Eight 3 of those times. 3 of those 5 times he made the Elite Eight. 2 of those times he was knocked out by the eventual champion, who happened to be UConn.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. Back in those days, from 2010 to 2016, that was their heyday run. They won everything back then. UConn did.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny Brooks is a special guy. I love the culture that he has built here at UK. It is a fantastic culture for these girls. And I mean, there's just so much to look forward to. I got a couple of clips here that I want to show real quick. These are all kind of quick. A couple of them are about Georgia, but I got a few on the girls here that I want to show. This is a play in the Liberty game that was pretty special.
They hand it to Amoore. 5 to shoot. Amoore straight away splits a double team from the top. Good, and a foul! Can you feel the madness, Georgia?
It was pretty special in the Liberty game. This is a 3-pointer in the Kansas State game.
Rotation was off defensively, Lee recognizing it. And I think for K-State, when they get the ball in their hands, it's good. And Georgia, Amoore finally.
And then I'm going to wrap this up with the girls with a clip here. This is from Deja Lawrence, post-game press conference, talking about Georgia Amoore and the season that they've had together in the backcourt.
G has taught me to, no matter what, again, show up and work hard. G has had an amazing career. I followed her career since she's came to college. I've always been a fan. I think when I first committed, she texted me. I said, oh, Georgia texted me. But no, just always just showing up, being the best version of yourself. I don't think I've had I've seen G have a bad day in practice or in a game or anything like that. So she's so mentally strong, and she uplifts us every day. No matter if we just turn the ball over, took a bad shot or anything like that, she just shows up as the best version of herself, no matter what she's going through at home or outside of basketball. So that's the one thing that I will forever take, and always working hard. She didn't get in this position that she's in just because she showed up. She showed up every day and worked her tail off every single day. So I will always remember that, and just always, because of her, show up and work no matter what. And I know that if I do that, great things will happen. So that's sweet.
I had to show that. That was in the post-game press conference last night after the loss to Kansas State in the second round. Both of those girls were graduate seniors. Had that extra year of COVID eligibility, and that's the reason why they were here at Kentucky. It's going to be sad to see them move on, both of them. Deja Lawrence has had a fantastic year, averaged 13 points a game, shot nearly 40% from the three-point line. She's had a fantastic year. It was amazing praise on Georgia. Georgia's a great person, great motivator, and a great player, to be quite honest with you. And definitely going to miss her. That's for sure. All right. We're going to move on to the men. But I will say this: we're not going to be done here talking about the women. We got recruiting stuff and all kinds of stuff. So we're gonna keep updating you as we go through our shows and through our season here. But we're going to start out, John, with the men versus Troy. Kentucky in the opening round of the NCAA tournament played Troy, the 14 seed. And Kentucky won 76-57 versus Troy.
Yeah, it started out kind of slow. Kentucky got out to a slow start. They picked it up right there before the end of the half, and then they kind of just put the game away to start the second half. Got up 20 points. Troy did not shoot the basketball well. Amoore Williams had a really good game in this game. They did what they had to do in the first game. Everybody's had those first year jitters with Pope, and then you have the last 3 or 4 years of the tournament. It's drained the BBN. They've been kind of off and on with the tournament because it's not really meant much to Kentucky fans the last 3 or 4 years. It's not been a good March. And you got that win out of the way.
It's meant a lot. It just wasn't there.
Yeah, what I mean, that's what I mean. They've just not had nothing to get excited about. And they did Friday night? They beat Troy. Coach Cross and Troy Trojans are a really good team. They just could not shoot when the lights got high and the lights got bright. And Kentucky made plays, and they ended up winning the game going away in the second half.
And I'm going to be honest with you, John. It seems like it's been forever since Kentucky had a 20-point win in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, it's been a while. And to add to your point, Colin Chandler has played really, really well as well. He's done some really good things for Kentucky. Coming off the bench, Trent Noah had a big shot there in the first half. Some of the bench has been really big. Ainsley Amoore had a really good game yesterday for the Kentucky against Illinois. We'll get to it in a minute. But the bench is you said it all the whole tournament. The bench has to produce and come off the bench and make some shots. And I felt like they've done that with Colin Chandler. He's hit some shots when we needed them.
Collins played in this game specifically, in this Troy game. In the second half, Troy had cut it to like a 7 or 8 point game with about 14 minutes. about 14 minutes to go.
And he hit
They had cut
three.
it, and they put in Brandon Garrison and Colin Chandler, and those two alone went on a 15-0 run and pushed the lead out to like 21 or 22 points.
If not for them, it probably stays a little bit tighter. It's amazing what, Mark Pope has done in his first year. There's 4 other coaches in this tournament, Brad, that are first-year coaches: John Calipari, Dusty May, Mark Pope, and Kevin Young at BYU. All 4 of them are going to the Sweet 16. That's amazing.
Yep.
And 2 of those was from Pope to BYU. I mean, from BYU to Kentucky, and then from Kentucky to Arkansas with John Calipari and Mark Pope. And to me, it just shows that, all 3 schools needed to change. And you're seeing that, kind of filter out.
It seems like it's a positive for all of them. I agree. I've got a few highlights here on the Troy game. Before we move on from the Troy game, I've got a few highlights here that I want to show you guys.
Oway drives down to the baseline. Fall away 10-footer. Got it. Left side Carr. Wide open. 3. Yes. Pass ahead to Brea. Bounce feed down to Oway to the rim and in the layup. Good. Williams. Brea. Backdoor cut. Reverse layup. Good. Feed out. Hooks it over to the left corner. Noah's 3. Got it. Side. Oway kicks it to the corner. Carr wide open. 3. Yeah. It fires to Brea. Good dunk. Cutting in on the right baseline. Leading the break. Sprinting down the left. What I've been wanting.
That Amoore dunk was special, man.
So those were first half highlights. Those were first half highlights of the Troy game. And you can see Carr starting out playing pretty well there. A special dunk there by Amari Williams, who I was happy to see go down the lane and finally take a hit and dunk it, just to be honest with you. And then we've already talked about the second half with Brandon Garrison and Colin Chandler coming off the bench and really giving this team a boost, because there was a point in this game where we had like 8 points after halftime, and I thought, are we going to score? And they cut it to like 8, and then them 2 come in, and Colin hit 2 threes, hit 3 free throws. Brandon had some good plays.
Kind of put the game on ice.
And pushed this game out. Yeah, and kind of pushed this game out, to be quite honest with you. Yeah, 100%. Going to get to that, Jerry. Nobody's ever done that. No school, not just coach. It's never been done before. All right, so then last night we match up with Illinois in the second round game. John, it has been since 2019 since Kentucky has won back-to-back postseason games. Whether that's in the SEC tournament, put together 2 wins until last night.
We're heading out to Indianapolis, first time since 2019. It's a testament to what Pope has done with this roster, basically cleaning up a roster from a whole rebuild, taking – except for 2 guys, I think, which was Cotwell, and actually 1, Travis Perry. The other 2 was Trent Noah. He decommitted from South Carolina. Then you had Colin Chandler decommit from BYU and come to Kentucky. But, it just shows that what these players do and how they love one another. Kobe Brea stepped up yesterday, had 23. He was a flamethrower, as Kevin Harlan said. He was 10 for 16 from the floor. He was 7 of 8 from inside the arc. He's going inside the paint. He's doing a lot more than just shooting threes now. He's using the ball and being able to drive and do things.
He even hit a floater or two yesterday.
I think Illinois had cut the lead to 9
was
with 11
surprised.
minutes. Illinois cut the lead to 9, I think, with 11-something minutes to go. Mark Pope called a timeout. Bray scored 10 straight points in that stretch. He had 2 3-pointers and a couple jumpers in the lane, and that was pretty much the game. He actually put the game away himself. And I'm going to say this while we're on this topic. Lamont Butler, the warrior he is, his shoulder is basically hanging by a thread, as Coach Pope put it. And he's out there hitting, going through cuts, going through guys. It's just amazing.
He is, and you got to give it to him.
It's signs of a tough little basketball player. And to see him do that on a big stage just shows what kind of player he is and what kind of character guy he is. He don't want to let his team down. And I thought the defense played really good yesterday. He had 26 points off turnovers, 26 points off turnovers. Illinois turned the ball over way too much for them to stay in the game. They missed some key shots. Now, there was a couple little spurts there where they made runs like that 9-point lead. Then they cut the lead to 5 before halftime.
They actually cut it to 6 one time, John.
I'm going to tell you where the biggest play
it was 6.
The biggest play of the game to me was right before halftime. I think the game was at 3-2 something, and Trent Noah got fouled at the 3-point line, and he went in and he hit 2 or 3 free throws, which I felt was big because you go into the half up 5 instead of just 3 or 2. So that was a big play in the game. I thought the defense played spectacular. The defense has played probably top 15, top 16 the last 2 months. They played really well defensively, and I felt like they've turned it on another notch, and now they get an opportunity to play Tennessee Part 3.
Yeah, we'll get to that, but yeah, we definitely will. I got some highlights here that I want to show you guys from last night, and the big win here for Kentucky and Mark Pope.
Away drives down to the baseline, fall away 10-footer, got it. Left side Carr, wide open, 3. To Riley. Steal at mid-court on the pass to Ivisic by Williams, and a dunk at the other end. Goes left, gets screened off. Here's a 3. Bingo! Away driving, baseline left, up with a 10-footer, goes. And Butler comes up with a steal. Over to Garrison, layup. Side to Oway, floats it back to Carr. They've got a 3-on-2 as Carr goes in, scores, and a foul. That's huge.
That Butler steal was probably one of the biggest plays of the game.
All right, that was some second half highlights of that one. I clicked the wrong one to start with and had to click the right one. But that was some second half highlights of the Illinois-Kentucky game last night for the right to make the Sweet 16 and a huge win. John, I told you this last night, driving back. I think Pope, this was a win Pope desperately needed.
He did. There was a lot of pressure, I thought, on him. I know everybody says, well, Arkansas won and BYU won, but I felt like it was more from a winning the fan base back kind of pressure because the BBN hasn't been to the Sweet 16 since 2019. It's another week to get to watch your team play. It's another week to get to celebrate and have one more week with the team. Just an unbelievable experience for Mark Pope and them. Proud of them, proud of the way they've handled adversity all season long. They've had injuries. They've went through it so much, and to see them go through this and just make the Sweet 16 is all that much more.
And they're doing this without Jackson Robinson,
without
Kerr Carissa,
I'll say
and Butler's
I'll say
not
this,
100%. I'm not sure the Carr's 100%.
and I'm going to say this. This might be one of the greatest coaching jobs that we've seen in quite a while, based on injuries, based on just, people kind of doubting them. They was an underdog in the Illinois game. A lot of people did not think they would win this game. Let's be honest. There was a lot of media that thought Kentucky would lose this game. And they come out with intensity to start the game. They put the D on them, got out to a early 13, 14-5 lead, and they really never relinquished the lead. Illinois cut it to 5 a couple times. They cut it to 9 at one point. It seemed like Kentucky was in control pretty much the entire game.
So the Sweet 16, Jerry brought up something here. I want to talk about this for just a second. There has been no team ever in the history of the NCAA tournament. They added 16 teams in 1975. It's been 50 years, okay, that they have had the Sweet 16. Never has a team with 0 returning points. They've had 0 returning points. Never has a team with 0 returning points made it to the Sweet 16.
And another key stat is Tennessee and Kentucky have met 241 times. And Friday will be their first ever game in the NCAA tournament against each other.
They will.
That's kind of hard to believe too.
It will. That is a true story. But talking about this Sweet 16, man, I think here's another thing, the reason why I think the pressure was on last night, because the night before, not only did Calipari make it and beat a good St. John's team, but also Kevin Young took BYU to the Sweet 16. So both schools were already in the Sweet 16 before last night's game between Kentucky and Illinois. And I think that was added pressure. The fan base was not going to be happy if those two got there and we didn't.
Yeah, I agree. That's a lot of pressure to put on a guy, which even if he lost, I say I wouldn't have put it all on Pope, because it's not all on Pope. Pope is just a first-year coach here, but it has to do with a lot with the history the last 3 or 4 years.
The last 6 years.
The last 6 years, let's be honest.
Another thing I want to bring up, John, I have met some amazing people and people that are covering Kentucky men's and women's media people and stuff. So there's a guy, I'm not going to bring his name up, but there's a guy who has been on the beat for, this is his 6th year covering Kentucky. He has been covering full-time media Kentucky basketball. Last night was the first time ever that Kentucky Wildcats have made the Sweet 16 since he's been covering them. And this was his 6th year covering Kentucky. That says a lot. That's astonishing to me. We're talking about the history of Kentucky, who has 46 Sweet 16s, by the way. Nobody else has more than 34. Matter of fact, only Duke, nobody else, and North Carolina, nobody else even comes close. Like the 4th one is Mississippi or Michigan State with 22, and Kentucky has 46. And it's been 6 years. This guy's been on the beat for 6 years, and never have they made the Sweet 16.
It's going to be fun this week. There's a lot to play for. Tennessee, we beat them twice in the regular season. Beating a team 3 times is really, really tough. Now, Alabama did this that way in the SEC tournament. I
got some stats for you on Tennessee. So I think the last game we played against them was actually 242 games that Kentucky and Tennessee have played. I think Kentucky is 163 and 79 against Tennessee.
Well,
They
and the
played.
thing is, the
They
balls
played
are
200. They played 242 times. Let me get through my stats real quick. 242 times. They have played 18 times in the SEC tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky's 12-6 in those games, 18 times. This hated rivalry, though, has never, ever met in the NCAA tournament with everything on the line. Not once.
That's what I just said.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. What's crazy is about this game. Kentucky's going back to a place where they lost a couple of years ago. St. Peter's, Indianapolis. I know not to bring that up, but that's just the facts. Tennessee's going to be motivated. They're going to make sure they don't go 0-3 against Kentucky. This is Tennessee's probably their best chance to make a Final Four. This is a matchup where Kentucky's not had.
I disagree. I think the last two teams are better than this team. That's just my opinion.
Well, this has been Indianapolis has been a really bad place for Kentucky. They lost to Wisconsin there, the perfect season. Duke beat them there. Then they had St. Peter's 3 years ago. It feels like this is a place where dreams go to die, I guess. I mean, can we
you're talking about just recent history. Before that, we've done a lot of good at Indianapolis.
We have. This is going to be like a heavyweight fight, Brad. I think there's going to be knockout blows in this game. I think it's going to be really, really tight. I think no team is really going to get ahead of one another. It's going to come down to the last maybe 2 or 3 possessions.
I got to bring something up before we close out this show about this game. Can somebody please explain to me how Tennessee is favored? Like, seriously, Kentucky has won 3 straight times in Knoxville. They've won 3 straight games versus Tennessee, including last year. They beat them twice this year. And you're telling me that Vegas has them open as a 4.5-point favorite? How? How in the hell is Tennessee favored against Kentucky? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. Mind you, Kentucky's beat them 3 straight times in Knoxville. Jerry, it makes no sense. I don't give a crap if they have a 2 beside their name and we have a 3. Look at the recent history between these 2 teams. How in the hell could you possibly have Kentucky as the underdog? I don't understand it. It makes no sense. Vegas has lost their marbles. There is no way. If I'm a bet, if you're betting, if you're out here and you're betting, take Kentucky in the points in this game. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that Kentucky's going to win, but if they're giving me 4.5 or 5 points, seems like a damn shoe-in to me. Look at the history. I don't understand it. There is no possible way that you could have them as the favorite.
Well, right now, the prediction is 76-73 Kentucky or Tennessee. Via, I think it was FanDuel or DraftKings maybe. So.
I just don't get it. I'm sorry, y'all. These two, it's not like there's not a history here to look at. It's not like Maryland's taking on Oregon or something here, and you're in the NCAA tournament and there's no history to look at. These two teams play 2 to 3 times every year on each other's home floors. I mean, anybody with half a brain who is setting lines for this game ought to look at this game and be like, I don't care if it is a 2 versus a 3. Kentucky has the advantage in this game. Now, the game will play out like it's going to. Tennessee is a good team. They're a great defensive team. It depends on how we shoot. How we've won 2 games this year is we've shot the lights out 3-point line, and they have missed a ton of 3-pointers.
Well, and to be fair, Tennessee, their shooting relies on Chaz Lanier. If Lanier is not hitting, they got to go to Igor.
They're like 14 of 73 or something like that, crazy versus us.
Well, they get Jordan Gainey off the bench, which, with him, you get a couple threes, 3 or 4 threes a game. You shut down a majority of what they do offensively, you can win this basketball game.
I'm going to be honest with you, John. If I am Mark Pope and these players, I'm not scared of this game. I'm not scared of this game. I'm going into this game feeling pretty confident. Now, I hope that don't turn into overconfidence and play like absolute crap, because that can happen. I'm not going to sit here and act like that it can't happen. That can happen. But if I'm going into this game, I feel like we have a great game plan. We've executed it. We've done it. I'm feeling pretty good, to be quite honest.
I think we'll have the advantage, Jerry. Us and Purdue.
I think Indy will be for our game, it'll be mostly blue.
Now Purdue will have a lot there because it's right next to.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, they will for sure. Yeah. All right, before we move on from our close out the show here, got to bring this up. 7 SEC teams on the men's side sets a record in the Sweet 16. All this chatter and talk that the SEC is overrated can now be put to sleep. We can do the night-night by Steph Curry. We can do the night-night and finally put that crap to bed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's utter ridiculous. But I do want to ask you, John, it was 7 the number you before this started? Was you thinking that we would get that many? Do you think we might get 1 or 2 more?
I thought we would get.
Where was you at when this started?
I thought we would get 1 more.
The record was 6, by the way.
I actually,
the
I
ACC.
actually thought that Missouri would be there, but they just didn't play to their potential.
I kind of thought Texas A&M might get there, to be honest.
Yeah, them or Texas A&M. Texas A&M, they made some dumb mistakes down the stretch.
The two that I'm surprised about that's there is Ole Miss and Arkansas. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Well, not so much Ole Miss, maybe Arkansas. Ole Miss has been pretty good all year.
I am still kind of surprised that Ole Miss – I'm going to be honest with you, John. I was afraid that Ole Miss would get picked off by North Carolina in the round of 64.
Well, to be fair, the last 2 games,
honest.
Ole Miss has been hot from they ain't been able to miss. Now, they're going to go up against a tough game in Michigan State Thursday or Friday, whichever they play, but which they're going to have to knock off Tom Izzo, which ain't going to be easy. But Chris Beard knows how to get his teams to play. They're really good defensively. They know how to and this Ole Miss team can score. This is not one of your average.
I'm not knocking them. I'm just sitting here. If I was going to state a fact of the way I was thinking, I thought that North Carolina, it would be a good game down the stretch, and it was. North Carolina, it was close down the stretch, and I thought North Carolina might get them in that first game, to be honest with you.
I did
It didn't
too.
happen, and they played well. Was it yesterday?
They shot well, and then Iowa State they shot just as good.
They did.
They're playing really good.
They've played really well, and you got to give them some credit. And that credit includes this. Jason Harrison's been on the show with us from time to time. I got to say something here about Ole Miss being in the Sweet 16. This is only their second time ever making the Sweet 16. The other time, there was a point guard by the name of Jason Harrison that took the Ole Miss Rebels to the Sweet 16. This is the furthest they've ever made it. I'm sure Jason is somewhere in Arkansas being very, very happy right now with Ole Miss. I actually told Jason when they hired Chris Beard that I really liked the hire, that he's a great coach, that he will get it done. I have said that all along the last 2 years. There was just a team in the way this time, that I thought maybe would be a little bit better. Honestly, I thought Iowa State would play better as well, to be honest. But Chris Beard's an excellent coach. He really is. Now, my question, will he stay there?
Yeah, I think he's fit to where he needs to be. I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. And by the way, Jason Harrison is, I think, coming on with us tomorrow night.
We're going to try.
We're going to work on it. So
yeah, we're going to try and kind of celebrate the Ole Miss victory and them being in the Sweet 16 with Jason tomorrow night. That would be cool if we can do that. All right. That's going to be it. Check out stadiumrant.com. We're writing, and I've got quite a bit of the girls team, the Kentucky team on there. John's got the men's team coverage. Excuse me, I got a little scratch in my throat. John's got the men's team's coverage. And check out Stadium Rant. We are excited about being a part of Stadium Rant and doing a lot of writing for them. Sorry, I have to take a drink. All right. And a part of their podcast coverage now and all kinds of stuff at Stadium Rant. Check out Stadium Rant on YouTube. They're on Instagram. They're on Facebook. Check them out as well. All right, guys, we're going to end it tonight. This has been Big Blue HoopsCast episode 16. This is a March Madness episode. We got the guys going on to the Sweet 16. The women are going to be working towards next year now. Unfortunately, they are not going to Spokane, which I was really hoping for. But we're going to keep you updated on the women as well. And we got a game Friday night. Tennessee, Friday night. I think it's the TBS game. Isn't that right, John?
Yeah, it's 7:39. It's the early game.
Yeah. And it's the TBS game, which I thought was weird that they're not showing Kentucky, Tennessee on the CBS.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Yeah.
I kind of thought that was a little weird. But Friday night, Kentucky and Tennessee for the right to go to the Elite Eight in the NCAA tournament. We get two hated rivals.
Somebody's going to be mad Friday night.
Oh, boy, it's going to be a good one now. I'm telling you, Friday night, don't miss it. It's on TBS. If you're a fan, either go to the game in Indy or turn on TBS.
Have a good one, Jerry.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good one. Have a good night.
Good night.